John, let's talk 2016. GOP candidate Donald Trump, several polls showing a spike in his popularity. What are Republicans saying about that?
Well, the spike in his popularity has to be put in context. He went from being toxic to being less so. He's got his position has improved within the Republican ranks. It's still not fabulous among Republicans. And within the general public, I think in the Washington Post poll, he went from having a 71 unfavorable to a 60-something unfavorable. So that's in the general election. And of course, that's what a lot of Republican voters are thinking about. So his condition has improved. And he's certainly taking up a lot of oxygen in the Republican race. And there are a lot of Republicans who want voters that I talked to this week when I was in South Carolina that don't associate themselves with Mr. Trump's remarks, particularly about Mexicans, but on the other hand, like the fact that he's saying things out loud that are a little bit brash, that give a sense of urgency about the condition of this country, which they think is in bad shape. And so they like the kind of thrust of the whole Trump approach, though they don't necessarily want to sign up with any specific thing he's saying. I think that matters in the sense that other candidates have an opportunity to speak to those same voters, but if they're going to do so, they're going to have to get a little bit more candid because they now have an example of somebody who's kind of speaking their mind, and voters find that appealing, at least in certain numbers. One final point, the polls are not so important at this stage. They show a little bit of movement, but when you got 16 candidates, you can be at the top of the pack without a very big amount of the electorate. What about party leaders, though? Are they concerned at all about him? Party leaders are concerned. They also have to, I mean, they are genuinely concerned, but they also have to show they're really concerned because after Trump is come and gone, they want to be able to say, look, we tried to talk to him. And there is a view among the party that, and this has been in the party long before Trump announced his candidacy, that the Republican Party is defined too much by the sort of older white male voters, and then it needs to reach out to minorities, and that Trump is a threat to that. Whether he is a long-term threat, whether if he comes and goes, the Republican Party is left with some stain from him, that's what some believe. I think we're not in full-blown panic here because what's happening is that while Trump is making his points, you've got other candidates like Jeb Bush, for example, talking about basically opposing Trump and articulating more than perhaps he otherwise would have his approach towards particularly Hispanic voters. So it gives an opportunity for Jeb Bush to kind of put himself forward on this point. And that might be something at the end of the day, many, many months from now, that voters might find attractive if Jeb Bush ends up surviving this bumper cars process of the primary.
John, let's talk Democrats, specifically Hillary Clinton. What do you make of her numbers?
Well, her numbers are soft, and it depends on the polls you look at. An AP poll had Clinton in quite a bit of trouble, but the Washington Post poll had her doing better after she's weathered some knocks here over the last few weeks. So, again, it's a good warning to all of us that these polls are going to jump around a lot, that people's impressions are quite soft about all of these candidates, even somebody like Hillary Clinton, who they've known for a very long time. But of all the candidates out there, Hillary Clinton, because she is so well known and because it's so hard for her to kind of pivot and take a new direction, because she's taken all previous directions possible because she's been in the public light for so long, there's a challenge. But I think it's still, the fundamentals are important in politics, and the fundamentals are for her that she still has a great deal of support within the party. She is not objectionable to a huge portion of the party. She would be the first woman president, which matters to a lot of women voters, some of whom are more conservative type voters. She has a great deal of organization and all across the country. So she has all of the fundamentals still very much on her side in terms of a primary challenge. And then in terms of the general election, it'll really depend mostly on who her opponent is. But she's doing a little better than maybe some of the concerns about her might suggest.
All right, John Dickerson, host of Face the Nation. Thank you. And Sunday on Face the Nation, John Dickerson talks with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. He also speaks with the two men who led the U.S. negotiations with Iran, Secretary of State John Kerry and Energy Secretary Ernest Moniz. That's Sunday on CBS.